Hey everybody, I'm Professor Brian Hansen. I'm the Associate Director of the Management Communication Department and a full-time professor here at Stern. So I've done a lot of different things in my life, but the one that probably matters to you all is I've been a consultant. I work specifically in human capital and organizational development, but I'm pretty well versed in a lot of different ways of consulting and have worked with literally hundreds of consultants in my career. I also teach a class in consulting for the MBA group, and I teach classes in management, business, organizational, and team communication for both the undergrad and MBA environments here. One other interesting thing is I run the Social Impact Scholars, which is a nonprofit organization connecting first year college students to consulting opportunities all over the country. I train them, we work together, and we come up with some really good ideas by the end of the summer. And people get a lot of experience that they can talk about in future interviews. I'm actually writing a chapter in a book on Generation Z and how they're connected into the world of consulting, their expectations, some of the challenges that this particular generation is facing, especially with the disconnect maybe with some older folks and kind of where some of those things align and misalign. So, how is consulting multifaceted? Yeah, it's definitely multifaceted. I think that we typically think of management consulting as specifically strategy, and that's definitely true. But there are so many other areas within consulting that you want to think about as well. I come from human capital consulting. That's a slightly different area. But actually, if you go to the website of any of the consulting firms that you might be interested in, it's really interesting to see how they break things down. For example, at Deloitte, they break it down by industry, and then within the industry, you have particular practices. If you go to McKinsey, they have more of a functional approach. So they're looking more at like digital or organizational or strategy, marketing and sales, and those sorts of things. Boutique firms have a whole different host. Sometimes boutique firms do a little bit of everything, and sometimes boutique firms will focus specifically on certain pieces of consulting. So, really multifaceted and definitely think much more beyond just that like management consulting is strategy approach because there's so much more out there. One other thing you want to think about are firms are either more strategic or tactical, right? Some firms are all about giving a high level sort of strategic approach to the business and to their clients, and other firms are a little bit more implementers. They do a little bit more of the tactical work. And sometimes there's a combination of both, right? It just really depends on the contract and the type of relationship the firm has with the client, as well as the firm culture in general. So lots of things to think about. Yeah, let's talk about trends for a minute. I think if you were to look at any of the firms and type in the word innovation when you're Googling, you will find that many firms now have this sort of digital or this innovation space that's both embedded with the organization, but also sort of separate from the organization. KPMG has an innovation lab, PwC has an emerging tech lab, EY has an emerging tech lab. These are sort of new advances in consulting where a lot of times they're sort of this own entity within the firm. They have their own clients, but they also do quite a bit of sort of like internal support with other more traditional consulting clients. And there's sometimes a pipeline where they will, a client will work with the traditional area of the firm and then also take part in some of these, innovation spaces as well. So again, anything having to do with data, with technology, with design and creativity, these are things that consulting firms are definitely embracing, and they're in some ways integrating it into the firm, and in some ways keeping it a little bit separate. And again, that's going to depend on the firm and where you're going. So there you have it. I hope you have a little bit better of an understanding of consulting. I was given 3 minutes, so I'm trying to keep it short. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out.